Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Charles Aite. To our first story, the International Monetary Fund has indicated its readiness to extend program support to Ghana if it gets a request from the government. This was in response to an email sent to the fund over calls for government to subscribe to a program to help stabilize the economy. George Raffi has the rest of the story.
The fund in the email maintained that it stands ready to support the country in any way deemed useful to government, but however noted that this must be based on a formal request by government. The IMF also stated that the authorities in Ghana have not made any request for a program, as in behind-the-scenes discussions. There are rumors making round that as a Plan B strategy, the administration is looking at the option of going to the IMF should plans seeking Parliament's approval for the e-levy delay or doesn't fall through. Government, on the other hand, is pushing back calls for it to go for an IMF program, insisted it has what it takes to deal with the current challenges. Some economists have also argued that going to the IMF might not just be about the financial package that it offers, but rather the assurance that it gives investors and the country's development partners about things turning around quickly, as government cannot do it alone in dealing with the current challenge. On the current difficulties facing the economy now, the IMF linked it to the challenge in matching expenditure with revenue, as well as improving upon tax collections and containing the country's rising debt stock. Some of the country's development partners have also told Joy Business that if government can implement additional programs to quickly stabilize the economy, then the fund program might not be necessary now. But for others, time will tell whether an IMF program is needed now, later, or never.
Well, let's bring in Dr. William Sepura, Chief Finance Officer at the Valley of University, on this matter. We're grateful, Doc, that you could join us. You predicted some 14 months ago that looking at the state of the fiscal and the country's financing, we have no option actually but to go to the IMF. What was your basis for this prediction? From where you sit, what is the present state of the Ghanaian economy currently?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. So in 2020, we saw government going over its payments and balance of payments, especially with the current account, where it went above the 5% threshold allowed by law. So we saw the finance minister coming to Parliament to seek approval to overspend above that threshold. It was granted to him. Then we also saw that government asked Bank of Ghana to allow them to also fund some activities. And Bank of Ghana, from their coffers, also gave some funding to government. So during that time, it was very clear that we had already started having the liquidity challenges. At that time, our tax revenue to GDP was between 10 to 12%, so which was very low. We saw the introduction of, in the 2021 budget, we saw government introducing some 3 more taxes. That is the environmental tax, to also increase the VAT rate. And what government did was to make sure that they get some revenue. So that is why our revenue went up in 2021 about 13 to 14% of GDP. But still, this is seen as not significant enough to be able to overcome the shortfalls of our balance of payment that we are having as a country. So at the time, it was based on that I made that prediction. And also, let me note that at that time, we didn't see government reducing their expenditure. So government was still bent on spending above or within what was approved for them in the budget. If government at that time had done some cutting of expenditures, this would have been a better situation. But we rather saw that expenditure which threw us overboard. And that is a repercussion that we are having now as a country. So what IMF stands as a fund, which we are a member of the 190 of fund, is that in time that a country is having disequilibrium or maladjustment in balance of payment, you go to IMF for some funding. IMF may decide to give you a concessionary funding or non-concessionary funding. So in Ghana's situation, as we speak, we are above the low middle income. So IMF will give us a non-concessionary funding. IMF may also give us technical advice or technical support in a form of capacity development. And normally IMF will do this and need some training and support. And that is what is really preventing the current government to go to IMF, because in the past they have made that allegation that those managing the economy at the time were not in that position. They didn't have the technical capacity to be able to manage. So this is what is really happening at the moment. And so you see government is trying to use the e-levy to shore up its revenue. And the opposition also noticing this is trying to resist government to get this passed. So that is why we have seen this fix going on in Parliament. And that is why that I am also of the view that if government cannot get the e-levy passed, our best option is to go to IMF. In short, IMF will give us the definitely, as we know, and it's happening, we have shown that we are not able to control our expenditure. So a program will help us to be disciplined. And that is what the whole discussion is going. So it's about the feelings, emotions, and those things. But the reality is that our balance of payment is not really supporting us. Also, if you have noticed, a major impact when your balance of payment is not adequate is that you see your exchange rate board and look at what is happening in the forex market. There's almost a 0.4%, a 0.4 difference in terms. I'm talking about dollar terms, which is the margin is too wide, and this is one of the reasons why it's giving a signal that our balance of payment is not very good. Because as the dollar is being quoted around 6.1 by Bank of Ghana, the forex bureaus are quoting 6.6. So this is a major impact that if you don't see that, unemployment will happen. And we are already witnessing it. About 50% of the youth in Ghana are not getting employment. So are you going to say that we need the e-levy to solve all these problems? E-levy is going to, government says only 1 billion will go into the Youth Start program, which is insignificant. If you look at the 50% of the youth who are supposed to be employed. So this is the impact that we term payments, and then also make sure that we get some capacity development within our ministry to be able to discipline in terms of our expenditure patterns.
Indeed, I had to give you ample time to make this submission, which of course is very sound. We're grateful that you could join us with your submission on whether or not government must face the IMF and the prospects regarding Ghana maintained its position as the 5th most attractive market in the Sub-Saharan African auto sales report. Factors including the varied tax incentives for car manufacturing companies to establish assembly plants in the country. We have more in this report by Charles Nexia-Boa.
The report said Ghana has a developing automotive sales environment amid a favorable political risk outlook, enabling policy certainty. In this regard, the nation managed to outperform its regional peers of 16.1 under the Quality and Extent of Transport Network indicator, underperforms the Sub-Saharan Africa's region average score of 21.3. Nevertheless, it said progress is being made with regards to upgrading and developing the country's road infrastructure with the recent commissioning of a 4-tier interchange in a level of vehicle ownership rates, highlighted by a score of 10.5 under the vehicle ownership per 1,000 inhabitants indicator. This signaled further room for vehicle sales growth going forward as rising incomes lead to first-time buyers entering the market for vehicles. Meanwhile, South Africa maintained its first position as the most attractive automotive.
Now, this week has been busy with news of an increase in the cost of petroleum products. In fact, a commodity used in cooking, which is LPG, was not spared, as the LPG Marketers Association has also warned of a plunge in the consumption amid the price hikes. Take a listen to Vice President Gero Kumi.
Currently, LPG consumption in Ghana is on the decline. For the past 1 year, we've been stagnating. We've been doing about an average of 28,000 metric tons a month. And naturally, population is growing. So the natural expectation is that as population grows, there should be that natural growth. LPG should be growing by at least the growth in our population. But we are not witnessing that. LPG consumption in Ghana is stagnant. And we think that is not too good for a country that is wishing to push consumption to about 50,000 metric tons per month.
So how can the price build up? How can the price build up, as we've heard from the IS, further deepen the woes of consumption?
Obviously, as I did indicate, LPG is a product with an elastic demand. Any peso increase in the price of LPG goes along with reduced consumption of the product. So as prices are going up, the obvious thing you should expect is that less and less people are going to. That is why we have been calling for a total scrap of all taxes on LPG.
Well, varied opinions have been expressed by some Ghanaians regarding the increase in liquefied petroleum gas. These are submissions by some consumers who spoke to Joy Business. Take a listen.
How they increase the petrol is different from the gas. Gas, when they come, they buy any amount they want. 50, 30, 20, whatever. So they don't actually in 40.5, which is about 120, 122. That's where they will see maybe they have increased or not.
Before it was 53 cedis. That was about 4 months ago when I filled. But now they said it's 50 cedis because they are saying that they are not supposed to fill it to be full because of the gas explosion that have been going on. So they will have to reduce it.
Well, those were voices from the streets at various LPG centres to Joy Business there. Let's now head to Parliament because Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Kuku Kwarteng, has assured that the ongoing e-levy consultation will still influence the tax outcome despite bills submitted to Parliament for approval. There have been criticisms of Parliament. Mr. Kwarteng noted that the Finance Minister can introduce changes to the tax post-public engagement. He's speaking to my colleague, George Rafi.
Well, when the bill is laid, when any bill is laid and referred to the appropriate committee, on this occasion it was the Finance Committee, you look at the bill as it came, as was referred to the committee, and your report is based to look at the bill and effect amendments. They may even reject some of the recommendations of the committee. So in essence, a committee goes into the details of the bill and then presents some observations and some recommendations to the plenary for a decision. Now, within that, there is still space for changes to be made, because when you go, clauses can be amended. So it is not late for engagements to happen, even though we have presented our report. I guess that is what is going to happen once the report, the work on the report starts on the floor. We're going to see some changes.
And so it means that the promise by the minister that it will be reviewed would be captured in whatever that will be adopted by the House.
Yes, that reduction that you referred to did not come before the committee, so we have not captured it. But the minister still is able to move a motion
in our subsequent bulletins. But you're still watching The Marketplace. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. Graduates in the second cohort of SNV Green incubation program out of this number in the Ashanti region. You know, this particular entire program has seen most of them trained across the various value chains of getting competitive in the local and global market. We have more in this report.
The Boosting Green Employment and Enterprise Opportunities in Ghana Green Project is a 4-year project implemented in the Ashanti and Western regions of Ghana. The project is an European Union-funded program that SNV Ghana is implementing with the United Nations Capital Development Fund. The project seeks to support the development and scale-up of businesses in the agriculture sector, renewable energy, and water and sanitation. Addressing the participants in Kumasi, officer in charge of incubation and acceleration at the SNV, Genevieve Parker-Chum, noted that the SNV will continue to build the capacity of the benefit.
So continue to support them. Our focus right now is really helping them to be investment ready. So financial management, helping to build on their financial management skills, providing tools and resources for them to be able to improve their access to funding, and then also connecting them to different funding sources so that they can grow their businesses properly. We continue to provide opportunities for market expansion for them. So trade shows, exhibitions, we continue to invite them to, showcase their products there.
She revealed that applications are now open for the third SNV incubation program, which will be an all-female cohort.
The next cohort that will be running this year, we are working on an all-female cohort. We are looking still at businesses in agriculture, renewable energy, and water sanitation and hygiene, including recycling. We want to see female businesses or businesses co-founded by females, and this time we want to focus on them and help them to grow their businesses. So we realize that many of the businesses that we meet in the communities are led by females, but I want to see how we can bring the support to the women and help them to grow their businesses. So
some of the participants spoke with JoyNews.
Coming forward to the SNV Green program, Rural Green Recycling, we had our incubation with Recycle Up Ghana, and it was very, very fantastic. So talking about business management, business analytics, marketing strategies, all the bookkeepings, record keepings, supervision, human resource management, funding processes, funding acquisition, and especially networking.
Their program is good.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, residents of Manfo in the Ahafo and North district of the Ashanti region have expressed concerns over the poor telecommunication services in the community. They say the situation is affecting their social and economic lives, most especially during times of emergency. Here's more.
Residents here will always have to move to an area with fairly good network reception to make calls. Most areas here have poor network connectivity. A member of the Manfo Traditional Council, Nana Antoine Mensah, explains the dangers associated with the poor telecom service.
Before the elections, the MP brought a contractor to construct a telecommunication mast, but we have not seen any work.
A communication mast started 2 years ago has been abandoned. Economic and social lives of the people have been adversely affected. Students often trek to other areas to access good connection to attend online classes or submit their assignments.
Apply for forms. Now forms na I apply, do attention.
The lack of connectivity affected my admission process.
And minya kona se twetwe nti na o se mitumrika na meba hase ebeye kona sense network na o ha no very very poor.
I have to run to the hill anytime I have a call.
This mobile money vendor, Yao Sechi, says he sometimes incurs losses due to the poor network.
It has affected mobile money transactions. We are running at a loss.
The Mountfort Traditional Council wants the local assembly and member of parliament for the area to immediately address the challenge. Here is Nanantua Mensah again.
Yes, Ghana Mpenfo and Ghana by Municipal Assembly.
We plead with the assemblies to construct a mast for us.
A report by Ewukuma Lake.
And that'll be it for the marketplace with me, Charles Aite. But for more news, more business news, do log on to myjawline.com. Many thanks once again for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.